Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video today addressing the enormous topic of meditation. Now, this is a really big subject, and I'm only going to teach just a sliver of it in a particular way for a particular reason. So just know that it's going to be painful for me to not give you the full scoop as if I know the full scoop, but I know enough to make a pretty long video, and I'm going to try not to do that. But meditation's such a critical exercise. It is biblical. There are, I think, 20 times in the New Testament that the word meditation is used, but there are, I don't know how many times that a meditative process is talked about in terms of like words like ponder. To ponder is to meditate. It's a meditative process. The Bible is full of telling us to meditate on the Word. It's an Eastern practice. All the Eastern religions major in it. It's a big deal. Of course, as a Christian, you want to do it a certain way. If you want to do it biblically, biblical meditation. However, there's also just meditation that is it's a good mind workout, because in our culture, it's been said that the spirit of the age today is just busyness. It is distraction. We got so many flashes going off here and there, so many clickbait, this and that, so many things to capture our attention and our focus and to distract us that we're literally splintered. I mean, I know some people that can't stay on a topic. They, even in their conversation, they're here and there and all, they're jumping everywhere. It's like, you want to stop it and just stay in, focus on one thing. You're going crazy, I want to tell some people, because they are. Our culture today is all about distraction, and we are practicing distraction. So we're really good at it. What you practice the most is what you're best at. And if we're practicing, if you and I are practicing being distracted, which is you just go with the flow, that's what you're doing. That is a major disservice to you. Why? Because it's in the present moment that God the Father is. And if you can't practice the presence, in other words, if you can't be aware in your mind about what's happening in your own heart, you're going to be, you're not going to know why you do what you do, and you're going to be led around by all kinds of things that you didn't even know were happening if you're totally unaware. And so we're complicated beings, and that being said, we've got to have some understanding about how we're created, what science tells us about the human body, mind, soul, heart, the human experience. And we've got to employ a meditative practice on a daily basis, and probably several. I do 3 different types of meditations. I try to do that every day, or at least consistently. And I'll go into some of those things if I'm going to talk about just one in particular. But just to let you know this, in a typical day, we have brainwave states, and these things can be tracked scientifically now as they put electrodes on your head, and that we can read these things, these measurements. But you've got high beta and low beta, which is a fast forward. That's a brainwave. It goes like this. It's when you're awake and active and really going and getting after it, right? That's your awake style of thinking. You're just going for it. Then there's alpha below that. That's a little bit slowed down. Alpha is where you kind of begin to enter into sleep. It's when you kind of go, I see it all the time when I'm preaching or teaching. People are sitting out there in the crowd and they're starting to go down. That's because they're entering into alpha, out of that low beta and into alpha, which they're going to sleep. And then the sleep cycle is down into delta and theta. I think it's delta theta, or it might be theta delta. Forgive me if I get that wrong. But so in your sleep cycle at night, hopefully you're getting into REM sleep, which is down in those lower levels. That's where your brain waves are slow and deep. That's your restorative sleep. And so what you want to be practicing is a meditative state, because when you begin to meditate, you're getting into the heart, what would be called the heart. You're getting out of your conscious mind, and you're getting more into what we would term as your subconscious mind. But even there's a lot more going on than just your subconscious as well. But that's an easy way to teach it in terms of subconscious minds, like 5 to 10% of your mind, where you're aware, consciously aware of what you're thinking and what's going on. Your subconscious is, though, the lion's share of your brain power. That's where the parasympathetic and the sympathetic systems are taken care of. You don't have to think through, all the processes of the body, because your mind, your subconscious mind, does that for you. You don't have to consciously think about it. So there's a lot of power in your subconscious, and that's actually where all of the real you resides, what you really believe. It's not your volitional thought. Like, your volitional thought says, you know what, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Yeah, I'm going to go on a diet. And then you run into your subconscious, which says, I don't think I want to diet at all. In fact, I think I'm going to eat this cake right here. And it eats the cake. And it's like, but I decided not to. Well, you've got to deal with some larger portions of who you are. And how you begin to tackle that is you get into a meditative process and you focus on some things in your heart. And the Bible, again, promotes this. This is what you've got to do. You got to get out of beta and into alpha, where you're slowing your brain waves down, you're calming down, you're relaxing, you're resting, and you're getting into your heart, where God can speak to you and share truth with you and change the beliefs of your heart. This is where renewal of the mind from Romans 12, 1 and 2 really takes place. This is how you renew your mind. We're very complicated beings. And so just to teach this in one way, I'm going to share this in terms of the redemptive gifts. Now, so if you're a prophet, if you're a redemptive gift of prophet, this is going to be really, really difficult for you. This is not going to come easy. And so I don't want to teach this in a way that's like, come on, get with the program. You ought to be able to do this. No, I'm not a prophet, but I understand prophets well enough, at least on a surface level, to say that I know this does not come easy for you. Now, I'm a mercy. So mercies are number 7 in the redemptive gifts. Prophets are number 1 on the redemptive gifts. They're wired very vastly differently. They're like, yin and yang, and so very much opposite. So for me, a mercy, I'm laid back. I like to take it easy. I like to savor. I love to rest. I mean, to me, meditation is like a duck to water. It's like, go tell this duck to go swim, and they're like, quack quack, which is duck talk for, hey, yeah, no problem. I'll go do that with joy, because I was made to swim. Mercies are made to meditate. They do it readily, easily, no problem. Prophets are not made to meditate. They're made to get things done. They've got light to shine. They got things to do. There's truth to, there's things to make happen. There's so many things that need to be dealt with, and they are on their way to do it. And so telling them to stop and meditate is like, are you kidding me? But if you'll believe me, that this is something that will get you way further ahead in life, doing that truth that you want to do so bad. If you can begin to really believe that, this is something that is a necessary evil, so to speak, in order for me to accomplish these things that I'm so driven and so desire to see right made wrong. This is actually you don't want to pass this up. This is an opportunity, and this is really a biblical command in terms of meditating. And so there's ways that you can do it, prophets, I believe, that are easier. Like I do a walking meditation later in the day. That's actually I do on a treadmill or outside walking as I go. It's a mindset that I get into and a thinking pattern that I get into with a feeling and an emotion that's attached that can get you in the heart as well. There's also things that you do through the day that you are meditating, whether you realize it or not. For instance, have any of you ever gotten in the shower and you feel like you hear from God, or you get into water, you get into a tub of water or something like that, and you feel like you can kind of hear? That's because you're getting into alpha. You're getting into a brainwave state in which you can hear spiritual things more readily. And so that's one of the things we do naturally. Singing, just closing your eyes, begins to get you in a meditative state, okay? Singing your favorite song can get you in a meditative state because you're tapping into some of those things we were created to do that kind of begin to open up the heart. So if somebody had electrodes on your brain, you could see how you're going out of beta and beginning to get into alpha by doing those things. So what you want to do is take the bull by the horns and say, we're going to do it on purpose. We're going to get into a meditative state right now. And so this is what I promote to you, prophets. And this is the one way. I'm not telling, again, this is a big subject that I'm going to show you how to do one way of meditating, which I think you can baby step your way into. So let me say it this way. Your breathing is a way to bring all of who you are into this time and space. So you're bringing all of yourself into this one time. Now is where your Father is. He's in the present moment. And when you can meet your Father in the present moment, it becomes the generous present moment because the Father has everything to give you. If you can stop trying to save the world and stop trying to do all the things that you're doing and trying to get done all the things you've got to do, let it go and stop, rest, relax, and focus on your breath. If you can just start out doing it 1 minute and then build on that minute. Once you realize how powerful this is, you will want to do it, and you will do it, and you can do it once you really begin to believe how beneficial this actually is to you getting the things done you want to get done. But you've got to meet God in your heart, and to do that, you've got to stop. You've got to stop solving all the world's problems. You've got to stop and rest. You've got to relax. Okay? Now, if you can do that in the middle of the day on a consistent basis, what you'll begin to do is train your brain, first of all, to learn how to focus on one thing at a time, which is a skill that we need desperately. And then secondly, you'll over time, now this is proven in clinical trials and studies, that you'll begin to be able to focus, and you'll begin to catch up to all the traffic going through your mind. You got so many things flying everywhere in your head that you can't make up from down. When you begin to practice a meditative state daily, it's almost like a snow globe. You know, you take a snow globe and you shake it up, and that stuff's going everywhere, the snow. Well, if you'll stop and set it, what happens? It all settles. When you begin to practice a meditative process and practice, your thinking will begin to settle. All of those thoughts that are just going haywire in you will start to settle, and you'll start getting clarity about what's going on and about what's going through your brain. You'll start getting control of your mind, which is a prerequisite to capturing your thoughts. Metacognition is getting on top of your thinking, and you've got to do that. And you can't do that if you're just got distracted. You got monkey mind. It's just everywhere, jumping around in a cage. You got to get control of that. A meditative process is going to help you begin to gain control. So the way I like to teach it is Genesis 2:7 is a verse in the Bible where it says that God breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. So what we see here is that word talking about the breath of God is the ruach of God. It's the Spirit of God. So the Spirit and the breath of God are synonymous in that verse. In other words, when God breathed into us oxygen, or whatever it was exactly that he breathed into us in terms of what we're breathing in terms of air, he called it spirit. So for God, it's a synonymous thing. Your breath and his spirit are synonymous to life. And so when you begin to focus on the fact that every breath you take is a breath that ultimately has come from God for life on purpose, that gets you beginning to focus on every breath is a precious thing. And you want to begin to focus on each breath as a precious thing, as a breath of purpose who came from God himself to you, so that you can live on purpose for a purpose, his purpose. And so you want to slow it all down. And so what I like to do is set my timer on my phone for 5 minutes. But if you prophets, if you want to start with 1 or 2 minutes, I know this can be difficult early on, but you just want to start somewhere. Take a baby step in this direction and just do it. Check it off a list of the day. I did it. And then try to add to it. But what you want to do is you want to relax. Sit down, close your eyes, relax as best you can. Stop. Relax. Now, what you're doing there is you're breathing in the breath of life. What I like to do is focus on the fact that Genesis 2:7 is occurring. God himself is breathing into me the breath of life, his spirit. And I'm receiving it into my lungs and into my life. And then I'm breathing out praise and worship for it. I'm grateful for receiving the breath of life. Okay? So that's a breath. But we know we don't breathe like this unless you're running for your life, which you're going to be doing that type of breathing unless you stop and rest and learn to do that. We breathe when we're sleeping at night. We breathe in intervals. And so this is what you want to do. You want to calm down and begin to breathe in intervals. So you'll breathe in the breath of life. Be thankful and grateful. Breathe out. Praise and worship for it. And then there's a gulf, right? Then you still got your eyes closed and you let the gulf occur. Now, you let the gulf occur as long as it needs to. You take a breath when you need to. But during the gulf, your mind is going to go haywire on you, prophet, especially you. All of us, it goes haywire, okay? So you're not different. But yours is going to be to all the stuff you got to get done. Oh, what about this and what about that? And what about, I need to be doing that. I need to be doing this. I need, on and on and on. Let it take off, okay? Don't try to keep it from happening. Don't try to be zen and no, I'm going to focus on nothing. It won't work. And it'll frustrate you and you'll quit. Don't do that. Let your brain take off if you need to. Let it take off. But when the gulf's over and you need to take a breath, come back to the breath. Okay? So in other words, you're taking in a breath, breathing out praise, let monkey mind occur, and then come back to the breath. Breathing in the breath of life, breathing out praise and worship. Now you're just thinking this. You don't have to say it like I just did. I'm trying to teach you. But you're thinking it. You're focusing on the fact that I'm in the present moment. I'm taking a breath from God. He's here with me in this present moment. He's giving to me life in abundance because that's what God the Father does. He is the Father of the generous present moment. You want to connect with him and then breathe out worship. And then what you're doing is as you do that 5 minutes or do it 10 minutes, do it 20 minutes, practice it. You're focusing your mind like a muscle to be able to focus on God the Father in the moment, if that makes sense. And as you do it over time, and you need to do this daily, if no other, do it 5 minutes. If you have to start out, start out with 1 minute, but build up to at least 5 minutes and then do it every day. Because over a matter of weeks, that's when you're going to begin to notice the difference in your thinking. Notice the difference in your ability to focus. Notice the difference that you are now practicing the presence of God much greater than you ever did. So this is a discipline, a spiritual discipline, a habit of life that's going to get you light years ahead, prophet, or anybody for that matter. This is for anybody. I'm focusing on the prophets because I'm doing this for a prophet, and prophets need this desperately, and we need you, prophets. We need you desperately to be blessed in your design, but don't let your design, don't overextend your strength and make it a weakness. That's not what we need. I need your strength to be strong, but in balance and in rest. In Christianity, we don't get anywhere unless we are in Christ, resting in the finished work. God doesn't need us to do anything. It is finished. And you've got to rest in that before you can truly do anything for Him that He's wanting you to do. He's calling you to do a lot. And He'll have you do plenty, prophet. But you won't get anything done in the kingdom unless you're resting first. So let me encourage you guys, practice a meditative process. You can do it this way. You can learn. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Again, I'm just giving you a sliver of the word, of a way to do it. But if you'll do this, if you'll practice this and you'll grow in it, it will change your life monumentally. And it will help you practice the presence. It'll help you connect with your Father in the generous present moment. And it'll give you health benefits that I can't even get into because it's too much. So I encourage you, do it, practice it, grow in it. Don't get discouraged. Just keep coming back to the breath. Let it be a backbone, coming back. Let the mind take off, but come back. Come back. See, that's the backbone. Practicing the presence. It'll calm you down. It'll get you into rest. It'll help you practice the presence. It'll help you focus your mind on everything you need to focus on throughout the day. And then also something else you can do outside of your meditative process is be present. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, be there in the present moment. That's where the life of God flows. That's where all the gifts come from, the spirit realm to you and through you into this realm. That's the only entry point it has. The enemy wants to keep you in the future and in the past. If he can do that, he's got you. And he can shut it all off. He can shut it all down. You will not be giving birth to anything of the kingdom if he can do that and accomplish that. And he does that well with all of us. So we all struggle with this. Practice the presence with the Lord. Be blessed in it. I hope this helps. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.